Welcome back to another episode. And today's story, we are covering one that I didn't think we'd actually get to anytime soon, but it's been highly recommended on other platforms. So here we go. So a little bit of background. This is more of a story that defined the genre of alien abduction because it is about Betty and Barney Hill's alien abduction story. And this is said to have essentially changed the game because their account recovered with the help of like hypnosis and extensive medical exams and even a pregnancy test really helped define this entire genre. So, before we get into that, don't forget if you do enjoy this type of content, along with like true crime, paranormal, legends, and myths, and there's all types of stories told. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and then of course make sure you hit the bell icon so where you stay up to date and get notified every time we go live. We do post stories every Monday at 8 a.m. Central here on this channel, and then throughout the week we also have our stories, or our shorts. So without further ado, let's get into today's story. Is it chasing us? That's the thought that coursed through Betty and Barney Hill's mind as they drove down the empty winding road of New Hampshire's White Mountains. It was September night in 1961. They hadn't seen a car for miles, and it seems a strange light has been following them. When they finally got home to Portsmouth at dawn, they were far from relieved. They felt incredibly dirty, their watches stopped working, Barney's shoes were strangely scuffed, and Betty's dress was ripped. There were 2 hours of the drive that neither of them seemed to remember. So what happened? With the help of psychiatrists, the quiet couple eventually revealed a startling story. Gray beings with large eyes had walked them into a metallic disc as wide as their house was long, according to Betty. Once inside, the beings examined the couple and erased their memories. Their experience would kick off an Air Force inquiry, part of the secretive initiative Project Blue Book, that investigated UFO sightings across the country. The incident would also become the first ever widely publicized alien abduction account and shaped how stories like it were told and understood from then on. Debates continue, though, as to whether or not this husband and wife were liars, fantasists, crackpots, or just sleep-deprived people who later recovered seriously scrambled memories. The Hills' road trip was spontaneous, a well-earned break Barney decided the couple needed, as he explained in The Interrupted Journey, a 1966 book they collaborated on with the author John G. Fuller. Barney worked a grueling night shift at the post office, driving 60 miles each way. However, Betty's job handling state child welfare cases was no easier. The little free time this biracial couple had was devoted to their church and activities related to the civil rights movement at the time. After 16 months of marriage, Betty and Barney saw this trip through Montreal and Niagara Falls as their delayed honeymoon. They left so impulsively they had no time to go to the bank before it closed for the weekend. They got in their car with less than $70 in their pockets. On the last night of their 3-day trip, the couple sipped coffee in a Vermont diner to recharge before the drive back. Barney figured if they pushed through, they could beat the wind and rains from an approaching hurricane. They left the diner at around 10 p.m., estimating they could reach their red-framed house in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. at the latest. As they drove, strange light in the sky gave another reason to hurry. At first, it looked like a falling star, but it grew much larger and brighter with each mile they drove. Barney, an avid plane watcher and World War II vet, was sure they had nothing to worry about. It was just a satellite, he assured Betty. They probably just went off course. The light seemed to move with their car as Barney steered down the curving mountain road. The light zigged and zagged, ducking past the moon and behind trees and mountain ridges, only to reappear moments later. Sometimes it seemed to move towards them in a game of cat and mouse. It had to be an illusion, they thought. Maybe the car's movement made it seem like the light, too, was moving. Curiosity overcame them. The couple pulled over at road stops and picnic turnouts to get a closer look. Through binoculars, Betty saw the white light was really an object spinning in the air. Barney, she told her husband, if you think that's a satellite or a star, you are completely ridiculous. Barney knew Betty was right. Barney had an IQ of 140, noted Fuller in his book. Barney was also a pragmatic man who wouldn't give flying saucers a second thought. Remembered his niece, Caitlin Martin, in her work, captured the Betty and Barney Hill experience. The night was too quiet for a helicopter, a commercial plane, or military jet with a hotshot pilot. He didn't want to spook Betty, but he was becoming very concerned. What was this light and why was it toying with them? About 70 miles past the diner, the object hovered just above the treetops, approximately 100 feet above them. Barney abruptly stopped the car, keeping the engine running. He shoved a handgun he'd hidden beneath the seat into his pocket and rushed into a dark field, leaving Betty behind in the car. What he saw was as big as a jet, but as round and flat as a pancake. My God, what is this thing? This can't be real, Barney recalls thinking. Behind rows of windows, gray, uniformed beings seemed to look right at them. Barney recalled he tried to lift his hand to his pistol, but somehow seemingly couldn't. A voice told him not to put down his binoculars. He had a startling thought. We're about to be captured. Yelling hysterically, he ran back to the car and barreled down the road as Betty tracked the craft, craning her head outside the car window. Without explanation, loud, rhythmic beeps sounded from the car's trunk. The couple felt instantly drowsy and just lost consciousness. They came back around 2 hours later and 35 miles down the road. Back home in Portsmouth, they tried to make sense of that night. Barney felt compelled to examine his body's lower half. Both seemed aware of a puzzling presence. In the weeks and months after, Betty, an avid reader, checked out books from the library, discovering the Civilian UFO Group, National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NICAP. She also reported the sighting to the Air Force, worried about radiation. In the coming years, with Betty suffering from disturbing dreams and Barney developing an ulcer and anxiety, the couple sought mental help. The two met with Benjamin Simon, a psychiatrist and a neurologist who specializes in hypnosis, a mainstream technique at the time. Through months of weekly sessions, Simon helped the couple piece together what they think had happened. A vessel had landed on Hill's car, putting them to sleep. Afterwards, gray beings walked them up a long ramp and into their spacecraft. Once inside, the Hills were sedated, taking turns in an examination room that had curved walls and a large light hanging from the ceiling. Each was asked to climb up on a metal table. The table was so short, Barney's legs hung over the side. During the examination, the beings removed Betty and Barney's clothes, plucked strands of their hair, took clippings of the nails, and scraped their skin. Each sample was placed on a clear material, not unlike a glass slide. Needles connected to long wires probed their heads, arms, legs, and spines. One large needle, around 4 to 6 inches, was inserted into Betty's belly. This pregnancy test left her twisting in pain. Throughout, a being Barney and Betty called the leader simply watched from the side. After Betty's examination ended, the beings rushed back into her room excited. They discovered that Barney's teeth could be removed. Betty laughed, explaining that Barney had dentures and, in fact, a fact of human aging the beings struggle to understand. Later, alone with the leader, Betty asked where the craft had flown, admitting she knew little of the universe. The being joked with her, saying, "If you don't know where you are, there wouldn't be any point of telling you where I am." Later, under hypnosis, she drew a star map shown to her on the ship. In 1965, the Hill story was picked up by a Boston newspaper. After that, everything seemed to change. The quiet couple story became the subject of a bestseller book and a movie starring James Earl Jones. The upstanding civil servants had become celebrity abductees. The Hills weren't the first to spot a UFO or even to report an abduction, but their story did capture the nation's imagination and was so widely publicized it actually helped shape how we talk about alien encounters and abductions to this day. Before the Hills story, alien encounters were friendly, according to Christopher Bader, a professor of sociology at California Chapman University. Some aliens even lived on Earth and commuted back on weekends. But once the Hill story became better known, abduction encounters shared certain characteristics such as medical examinations and missing time. Aliens with large heads and big eyes, dubbed Greys in UFO circles, became classic sci-fi staples in personal accounts and pop culture. Close Encounters and the Third Kind and shows like The X-Files even used it. The Hill story and those that came after helped pave the way for a new understanding of human experience. Richard J. McNally, a Harvard psychologist, put it in this way. The alien abduction phenomenon, in Richard's opinion, shows how sincere, non-psychotic individuals can develop beliefs and false memories of incredible experience that never truly happened. Experts of all stripes have tried to explain why intelligent, otherwise mentally stable people came forward with these experiences. Many psychologists say sleep paralysis and hallucinations played a role. Leading questions during hypnosis, the main way most abductees unlock their stories, could have also been a factor. Those who report abductions might also see the world a little differently. According to research, one of the strongest predicators of false recall is a vivid imagination. These groups score high in the magical ideation and is more likely to believe in ghosts and tarot card readings, according to Richard McNally. Some believe the Hill story was simply a myth in the making, with the supernatural meetings, vulnerable protagonists, and other worldly journeys that are often the hallmarks of legends. Many point to the stress of being an interracial couple living in a predominantly white state in a turbulent era. The year of their hypnosis, 1964, was marked by the Cold War tension and civil rights unrest, with numerous urban riots erupting that summer. You have a biracial couple at the time there were obviously it was not easy to be a biracial couple. Look what those aliens were, a mixture of black and white. I find that very meaningful, according to Bader. Abductees' stories depend on first-hand accounts, the most vulnerable form of evidence. Memories can be distorted by stress or distractions, or even manufactured. When a false memory is in place, psychologists say the brain works to fill in the details. Psychologist Michael Shermer pointed to patternicity, the tendency to see patterns even when none exist, helping us to see faces in the clouds or assume that one event caused another. Past experience also shaped human perception. Barney, a World War II vet, thought the head gray looked like Hitler and seemed menacing. Betty, meanwhile, who had been excited to see the aliens, bantered with the affable Gray who performed their medical examination. That alien even agreed to give her a book to bring to Earth with her, Betty said, though other crew members would later overrule that decision. In this way, alien abduction and encounter stories have helped psychologists understand the human brain, its defect, and the weakness inherent in memory and first-hand accounts, according to Christopher French, a psychologist specializing in human experiences related to paranormal. What we see and hear, especially under less than ideal observational conditions, can be heavily influenced by our prior beliefs and expectations, wrote French in The Guardian. NICAP scientific advisor cross-examined the couple and found their account credible. The Air Force's Project Blue Book would ultimately dismiss the story, determining the unexplained aircraft could be explained by natural causes, hinting that the couple hadn't seen a spacecraft, but only the planet Jupiter. For this part, psychiatrist Simon never felt the Hills had made up their story. He concluded Betty had dreamed about the abduction and Barney had absorbed her stories, especially since many of the most vivid details matched descriptions of dreams Betty had jotted down after the event. Simon, the psychiatrist, stated, I believe implicably in the honesty of these people, he said during a 70s radio program. Of course, another explanation is always possible. That the abduction actually occurred. The Hills stuck by this story despite years of skeptics and detractors like many abductees. The couples never felt false memory or sleep paralysis explain what they experienced. Betty did become a known voice in the UFO research and claimed she was visited multiple times in the decades to follow. Well, there you have it. Whether you are a believer in aliens or not, or whether you believe Betty and Barney's Hill story. Needless to say, can't really say anything back then, I guess. I don't know. But to be skeptical would be one thing. But in my opinion, and that's all this is just my opinion, is there's clearly something out there we can't explain. And, I mean, look out how much we've explored the Earth alone. I mean, we only explored a very, very small percent, like 10%, maybe a little bit more of the ocean. And we're trying to discredit or discount that there's other beings in this universe, whether light years away or in our same galaxy. I mean, I don't know. Again, just me, just my opinion. But it's hard to say. But let me know what you think. Do you believe in Betty and Barney Hill's story? Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe this happens on a somewhat consistent, regular basis? That people actually get abducted? Let me know in the comments. But until next time, everyone, make sure you hit the like and follow and subscribe button to stay up to date. Not the follow button. Hit the like and subscribe button to stay up to date. And hit that bell icon as well, just so you get notified the next time a video gets posted. And again, I hope you enjoy this type of content. And I will see you next time. But until then, take care, stay safe, try to stay healthy. I'll see you on the next video.